everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I'm doing this really quick. My family surprised me with a trip to Andorra for my birthday, but I did not have an intro for my next declutter. So today's video is going to be my declutter of concealers and powders. That's what I'll be doing today. It is a long one. I'm going to keep this super short and brief, especially because I'm just waking up here trying to get this done and get this uploaded. Hopefully you enjoy declutter videos. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's just jump over to that footage.
All right, so it's time to start with concealers. We're starting with 25 here, which is just entirely too much. And just to preface, if I sound a little nasally, I'm getting over a cold here, but I'm gonna go into this declutter with no expectations. Sometimes I try to think about how much I actually wanna declutter, but this is gonna be less of a brutal declutter, more of just trying to get rid of things that are no longer bringing me joy. So let's just get started. I think I have 25 here is the starting count, and I'm not really sure because a lot of these are newer. For sure, I'm not gonna get rid of this concealer. This is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter, and I have the shade 2.7N Coconut Flakes. This is hands down my favorite concealer. I find it to be like a demi matte concealer. It's very full coverage without being cakey. I really like this one. And then while we're at it, let's just talk about my Project Pan concealers. I have the NARS Soft Matte in the shade Vanilla. So I'm trying to make my way through this. I use this more for spot concealing. This isn't going anywhere. It is a nice concealer. And then this is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I'm getting through this slowly but surely. I do really like this concealer. This is where I was at about 2 months ago. My Project Pan update should be coming around the same time. Stay tuned for that and we'll see how much use I've gotten out of this one. I do really like this concealer as well. It gives a great medium coverage without looking cakey. I mean, that's the biggest thing I look for in a concealer is I want good coverage and I don't want it to crease. So as long as it doesn't do that, it's gonna stay. I do think it's time to let go of this Too Faced one. This is the shade Nude, and I just never reach for this. I pulled it into a Shop My Stash, and I just don't. For some reason, I just don't vibe with this concealer. I'm not drawn towards it. I don't ever really want to use it. It's not a bad concealer, but I've just had it too long. It's time for it to go. This concealer here, this is the L'Oreal Infallible, and I have the shade, this is a pretty dark shade for me. Where is it? 332. I bought this in Cyprus because I had gotten so tan and I didn't have something that really matched me. So you can see just how dark this is. I'm gonna declutter it. I'm sure maybe I'll get that tan again, but right now, every single time I open my concealer drawer, I see this and I'm not using it. I'd rather just get a shade or two lighter and I could use that instead because this is just getting no use. It's going to waste. Then some of these are half empty and I don't want to get rid of them because I want to finish them. So some of those, that's this one, this one, this one. Let's see. I think that's all of them. So these three have some significant wear in them. I have the Catrice Liquid Camouflage. This is almost done. It's currently in Shop My Stash, so it is gonna stay. This is a really nice concealer. It's underrated. I wonder if they still make it because I would definitely buy another one once I finish this up. Then the other one is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. It's an okay concealer. I reach for it quite often, so there's something about it I quite like. I just can't really tell you what that is. I do want to finish it though, and I doubt that I'll repurchase it. I just need the satisfaction of finishing it. And then this last one here is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Concealer. This is a little bit darker, so I feel better keeping this one for when I get dark versus this one. And I'm almost out of it as well. I also really like this concealer. I think it's really nice. It's not too radiant, even though it's called a radiant concealer, and it really just gives nice coverage. As you can see, I've used quite a bit of it, so I keep going back to it for some reason. Now, another one, I think I can declutter this. This is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. This isn't a bad concealer. I would say it's very similar to the Age Perfect, but for some reason, I just don't reach for this either. So I think it can go. For some reason, whenever I'm looking at concealers and Shop My Stash, I never want to reach for this. So this one's going to go. And then also, I think it's time this one went. I don't even think they make this anymore. I believe this is the Urban Decay All Nighter. I don't even remember the name and I can't find it on the box here. But it's a nice concealer. It's just this is definitely way, way past its time. It just needs to come out of my collection, so I stop reaching for it and give some love to some other concealers here. Now, some other concealers I for sure don't want to get rid of. This one, I definitely don't want to get rid of this one. And I definitely don't want to get rid of these. So these three concealers here, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. Really nice concealer. Love the shade. It doesn't crease. It's radiant, but not too radiant. I would actually say it's less radiant than the L'Oreal here. So I'm not sure exactly why they call it a radiant concealer. To me, it's more of just a natural finish, but it's really great. It's very similar to this NARS one, at least for me. I just have like the mini here, so I'm gonna keep it. This is the shade 2.6. Cafe con Leche, and this was like my first high-end concealer that I purchased. It's a little bit dark for me, but since I'm getting rid of this L'Oreal Infallible, it'll work great for me during the summer. And then the last one is the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric. I recently tried this not too long ago, and this is such a good concealer. The hype is absolutely worth it. Definitely the lightest concealer so far, so I'm probably gonna have to pick up another shade to fit me during summer, less during the winter time. This one's gonna have to be saved just for winter time, but this is a good concealer, worth the hype, absolutely. Now, we have these left. I don't know how many more of these I'm gonna get rid of. Let's see. I don't wanna get rid of this. I don't wanna get rid of this. And I don't wanna get rid of this. So these three are the Kosas. This is the Revealer Concealer, really great. It made me wanna get the foundation. The foundation didn't work as well for me, but this is just a good everyday concealer option if that's what you're looking for. It's very reliable. And same for this HelloFab Bendy Avocado Concealer. This kind of got overshadowed by new concealers coming out on the market, but for a while, a lot of people were talking about this, and it's a great just everyday medium coverage concealer that goes with a lot of different foundations. This is a really great versatile one. And then this Dior Backstage, it's not my favorite, but I'm just not ready to let go of it just yet. I haven't had it that long and I want to get a little bit more use out of it. It's not a bad concealer, but I can definitely see myself decluttering it in the future. It's not one that I want to reach for on an everyday basis. I kind of have to force myself when I look at like my other concealers that I'm keeping here. So I'm going to hang on to this a little bit longer, but it'll probably go sometime in the future here. Let's do these two because they're kind of staring me in the face since they kind of look different. I have the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. You know, initially my gut said to keep this foundation because it's so full coverage and you don't have anything like it, but I'm just not going to reach for this. It's too full coverage. It's too thick. I pulled this into a Shop My Stash and I remember I liked it. It wasn't bad, but I know that I'm just not going to reach for it ever. It's so full coverage. I mean, you could see it was like hard for me to squeeze out. It's so thick. I would rather use like my NARS here or just a different full coverage concealer. I think it's time to just say goodbye to this one. And then this one is the Revlon Youth Fix in the shade Light. This has like that floof ball, whatever applicator, so it gets really crusty. But this is a good concealer. I would actually repurchase this. I've used it quite a bit. I wonder how much is even left in here. So I'm gonna let go of it just because it's so old. It is like just so disgusting. I keep my makeup pretty clean, so it's very rare to see a makeup product that is just so gross like this. I'm gonna pass it on. I think I have enough concealers to work through. I can let go of this one. I'm actually doing better than I thought I would. I am also going to get rid of this Kylie. I bought this after the rebrand and I did like this Kylie concealer for a while. I have the shade Ivory. I used to use this all the time and I think it's one of her best products, but I just haven't been reaching for it. It's kind of been dethroned. I think that it can just safely go now. I like the selection that I have right now a whole lot better. I am going to be keeping these two. So this is the Milani Conceal and Perfect. This is so much better than the foundation. The foundation's like iffy for me. It's so full coverage, but this is a really great medium coverage. It's not too full coverage like the name would suggest. I love this. And then this is another great just drugstore option. This is the JCat Stay Assurance Concealer. This is more full coverage than this Milani for sure, even though you would think this is full coverage. This is way more full coverage. It doesn't move, it doesn't budge. I would say now that I got rid of the It Cosmetics, this is my most full coverage option. Really like this concealer. I didn't try it that long ago and I want to give it more love. All right, 4 left here. Tarte Shape Tape, you've been staring at me. I have the shade Light Neutral. I've had this for a long time. I don't use it. I only bought it because so many people were talking about what a great concealer it was. The shade's a little bit dark for me. This is only gonna work for me in the summertime. I think it's time to get rid of it. I could always buy like a small one if I wanted, which would last me more than enough time. So this full-size one I think can go. This Wet n Wild one, I use this all the time. This is the Photo Focus Concealer. You can't tell, but I'm pretty sure I'm like halfway through this. I wish I could see. It's just been laying on its side too long. This is a nice concealer. It's lightweight. It's not full coverage. I would give it like a light medium coverage, but it is nice. It doesn't crease. It works really well with all my foundations, so it is gonna stay. I think I can finish this one up. And then last 2. So I have the Pat McGrath Sublime Concealer. This concealer is okay, but I bought it online and it's just a little bit dark. I do want to repurchase this concealer, but I need just a lighter shade. This shade does not work for me. I'm debating whether I have the shade L7. I'm debating whether I want to keep it just so I don't forget, but I guess now I can just go back and reference this video. It's a nice lightweight concealer. The foundation is so much better than the concealer, so I would stick with that if you're debating between the two, but I am gonna declutter this. It just didn't knock my socks off, and I think I have enough concealers. This RMS Beauty Cover Uncover, something like that. I currently have this in Shop My Stash. I'm not gonna get rid of it just yet. I wanna finish out Shop My Stash for the month, really get my thoughts on it. But right now, this is like 50-50 if I'll declutter this during the Shop My Stash. I'm leaning towards yes, because I don't really reach for pot concealers. It's not terrible, but it is definitely, it's very, very dewy. And I find myself, because I also have this Catrice one in Shop My Stash right now, I find myself when I use this using both concealers. And when I use this concealer, I only use this concealer. I find that this one's just not enough coverage. But I'm gonna give myself the next week or 2 and really just decide if I wanna keep this around or not. But for now, let's just put it in the keep pile. And then here is the final results. So I'm keeping 9 and I'm hanging on to 16. That's actually much better than I thought I was going to do. So I'm pretty happy with these numbers. I'm going to figure out what to do with these fast before I change my mind on any of them. And I'm much happier with this selection here. I think I'll be able to actually finish up some of these concealers and get them out. Like this one, this one. You know, once I finish up these half concealers, I'll feel really good about my concealer collection. So this is where I'm gonna end concealers. Let's now move on to powders. Moving on to powders. So I have 24 powders here. I can absolutely see some that I can get rid of. So let's get started here. I reviewed this one sometime in the middle of the year. I really like this powder. It's the Makeup Forever HD Twist. So you kind of twist the sides here, powder comes out. It is a little finicky. I feel like the Oma Beauty, which kind of has a similar effect, works a lot better. Like you really have to twist it to get product out. There it goes. However, this is a really nice powder. I like it a lot. And then another one I knew I'm not going to get rid of is this one. This is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores. I plan on putting this in my project pan once I finish up this one, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Airbrush Powder something. I am almost done with this. So once this one is done, which I'm going to keep, I'm going to probably move this powder into, because I've also already hit pan and I know I can finish this powder. I really love it. Now, where do I want to keep going? Let's go with some of these like loose powders here. So I have the mini and the full size of the Becca. This is the Hydra Mist Set and Refresh Powder. I don't know why. I must have gotten this as like a free sample or something. This is not a bad powder. I don't mind it. The issue is I just don't reach for it. And look, this is still sealed. So I think that that is a sign I just need to let go of it. I'm debating if I want to keep the mini. I think I'll just keep the mini because I can finish it pretty quickly here, but the full size definitely just needs to go. And once I finish this, Becca is no more, so it'll be out of my collection forever. So I'm gonna keep the mini, decluttering the full size. Another loose powder. I grabbed this and then I completely forgot to talk about it. This is the Lancome Absolute powder. I have the shade Absolute Ecru Light. I just had this in previous Shop My Stash, and this is a beautiful powder. I am sad it took me so long to try this powder. It was unopened in my collection. It is very nice, and I think that they discontinued this powder, which makes me sad. It's a little bit dark for me right now in wintertime, but summertime, beautiful. It blurs, it gives like a very soft luminosity to the skin. This was a really nice powder, and I wish I didn't sleep on it for so long. This Hourglass powder here, this is the Hourglass Veil. Solid powder. I mean, everyone raves about this powder, myself included. It is very, very nice. It's currently in Shop My Stash, and I can see this being a powder that I completely finish, and I have yet to finish a powder completely ever. So hopefully, maybe this will be the first one. All right, now a powder I know I can get rid of, this RCMA, I pulled this into a Shop My Stash, and it's not a bad powder whatsoever. The problem is I just don't reach for it. Again, like, this is not about it being a bad product. This is a good product. The problem with this product is it's just cluttering up my drawer. I can't see my other powders, and I don't naturally gravitate towards it, so it's just gonna go. It's not bringing me any joy. And then also this Jaclyn Hill one, like this I opened to swatch, but I know I haven't used this. It's supposed to be like a dupe for this powder, I think. And I'm just, for some reason, like, look how shiny that is. I know this is just not gonna be a powder that I want to wear. I've had it, I talked about this in my last declutter that I needed to give it a chance before I decluttered it. It's been 6 months. I think it's safe to say that I'm just not going to use this powder. Does not fit my makeup style, so it's just going to go. And then let's see. Let's talk about some pressed powders. Let's do these. Pressed, 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 pressed. Okay, so let's go in order. This is the Laura Mercier Candle Glow powder in shade 1. This is a beautiful, beautiful powder. I love this powder. I use it quite frequently. It gives a really nice sheen without it being too much. It looks shiny on my finger, but it is beautiful on the skin. To me, this is an Hourglass product type powder, but so much better than those. I just love this powder so much. Now, the Dior Powder No Powder, I've had some struggles with this powder. At first, I had a hard time with it, but it is not a bad powder. It is blurring. I am going to keep it mainly for the reason that they're discontinuing this powder. So I don't want to declutter it and then regret not having it in my collection. So I am going to keep it just a little bit longer, see how much more use I get out of this product. And if I'm just not reaching for it, I'll declutter it. But for now, it's going to stay. And then the Jouer, this is the Soft Focus Hydrate and Set Powder. This powder used to be all the rage. I tried this once or twice in like a trying new makeup. It's not a bad powder, but I need to bring this into a Shop My Stash. I just haven't yet because I don't just have my full-on thoughts about it. So hopefully I will remember, and next month I'll put this in Shop My Stash. But for now, it's gonna stay. Now, this Glowish powder, this is the shade Light Medium, number 4. This is a little bit just too dark for me. You can see just even on the back of my hand, like, you should not be showing up like that. I don't mind this powder. I actually quite like it. I just need to get a different shade in it. So I'm gonna declutter it. I don't reach for it because I know how dark it is on my skin, and I'm just afraid I'm gonna look like I'm back in high school putting this on every single time, like where my skin is just so much more orange than the rest of my body. So I think that this needs to go, and maybe next time that Huda Beauty does like a really big sale, I'll pick up a lighter shade. But for now, it's gonna go. Let's knock out some of these minis just to get them out of here. I quite like minis. I think that it's a great way to try out products without fully committing. So I have 2 of the By Terry's. I have the Hydra Powder and then I have the pressed Hydra Powder. I like both of these. I would probably buy the full size of the pressed. I do prefer more of a pressed powder over a loose powder, but they're both really pretty powders on the under eye and they're very brightening. I think that they're great. Charlotte Tilbury is better in my opinion, but I've also haven't used this as much as I've used the Charlotte Tilbury, so it's hard to say if it's dethroned or not, but both of these are gonna stay. And then both of these are gonna stay. I have the Beauty Bakery Flour Powder as well as the Fenty Beauty. The Fenty Beauty, I just need to use up. I don't think I'd repurchase this powder. It's just not something I love to reach for, but it is a nice powder. And the Flour Powder is amazing. I'm sad that it took me so long to try this. Very reminiscent of the Huda Beauty. They're both very thick powders, but when I'm looking to set my makeup, these are the 2 that I go for. So both of these are gonna stay. Fenty's also gonna stay just because it's a mini, but once I get through this, I don't think I'll be repurchasing that powder. And now I have 6 left. So this is Givenchy pressed powder. I love this powder so much. I need to pick up the hard pan, but I use this all the time, especially on no makeup days or when I'm just wearing sunscreen. It again is very reminiscent. I'm having a hard time because it has hard pan, but it's very reminiscent of the Hourglass powders as well, but in pressed form. So much better than these Guerlain Meteorites, which is similar where it has the multicolors. But when it's in this, this is just hard to use is the problem. It's not bad and it smells nice. I mean, I do really like the scent, but this for ease is just so much better. There's something about this that just blurs my skin perfectly. I'm willing to overlook the hard pan because I know I put this a lot right on top of sunscreen when I'm not going to wear makeup. So I know that this is what the hard pan's coming from, is just the wetness of the sunscreen. So I can't fault it too much. Once I put tape on it, it's fine. Both of these are gonna stay. I do prefer the pressed over the loose just because it's so much easier to use. I'm just not ready to fully get rid of this. It is newer in my collection and I feel like it's kind of a iconic makeup piece, so I'm not ready to declutter it just yet. Now, the Pat McGrath powder. This I did a full face trying new makeup and I wasn't fully impressed with this powder right away. And then when I was editing the footage, it was amazing. I saw it blur on camera. It was insane. It's so soft. This is a really nice powder. I also need to pull this into Shop My Stash and just give it more love because this is really good. It's just, it even feels out of all the powders I've swatched, it feels really nice on my skin. This is for sure going to stay. And then this Kosas powder. This is not a bad powder, but it just gets hard pan so fast. It's hard to pick up when it gets hard pan like that. It's a good powder. I kind of just have this thing with Kosas. I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth after the whole bronzer just debacle with it smelling bad after a month of having it. So I'm kind of just irritated with them. I think I will keep this around a little bit longer though. I already paid money for it, so I don't want to waste my money. But I won't be repurchasing stuff from Kosas after this. I don't know if I'll finish it all, but for now it's gonna stay. And then last 2 powders, I have the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I like this powder. I wanna say this is one of the first setting powders I ever purchased, and I think it's served its time, and it's time to maybe break up and move on. I wish that I had finished it. I wish I had gone through it more. I don't use a lot of powder, so even having this many powders is just way too much for me. I think it's time we break up Too Faced and you either go to a better home or just something, but you're not gonna stay with me. And then the last one is the Guerlain Terracotta Nude. This is a nude glow powder in the shade Universal. It's not Universal. I wanna keep this because I don't have anything like it in my collection. It's supposed to give a nice pink finish to the skin. There's another Hourglass powder that gives that pink finish. So it is nice. I haven't had it that long. The thing is, I don't predict this being in my collection very long. I might get rid of this in my mid-year declutter. So we'll just see how far it goes, but it's not a favorite. I'm not ready to let go of it just yet. And then here are final numbers. So I'm keeping 19, decluttering 5. It could be better, but it could be worse. I don't want to declutter stuff just for the sake of the video and boosting my numbers. I like to keep it pretty honest around here. I feel good decluttering these, and I feel good about the pile that I'm keeping. Some of these I think that I'll only have in my collection a little bit longer, but I do want to give them a little bit more love beforehand. So this is where I'm going to leave you. Next up is going to be blush, bronzer, and highlighter. I'm going to try and cram those into one video here. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you have your notifications on. And with that, I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.